Hello, everyone. I am Matt, your storyteller for the evening. Welcome to Telling Tales. We make atmospheric, actual play role playing games. We stream them for you here on Twitch, and then we pop them over on YouTube, and you're watching on one or the other. Who knows? Certainly not me, and maybe not even you. Before we carry on any further, let me introduce you to Steve. Steve is our stream manager for the evening, as he is for every episode of Vampire. Hello, Steve. How you doing?
Hi, Matt. I'm fine. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Steve will be controlling the chat, controlling the images that go on screen, the cams, stuff like that, beavering away in the background to make this presentation nice and slick and professional. And you'll only see him again if something goes horribly wrong. So let's hope we never see Steve again. Bye. Promo stuff before we get into the session. So there's a bunch of links down below. There's a link to our YouTube and a link to our Twitch. You're watching us on one or the other, as I already alluded to. Why not check out the other one? There's links to our social media. There's links to our Discord, where you can come and talk to us about all things role-playing, all things telling tales. And there's a link to our Patreon if you feel like signing up, supporting us, and getting something in return. Like the mercenary people you are. We run 3 weekly role-playing games. We run on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, each time at 8 o'clock BST in the evening. And Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, Tuesdays is Vampire, that's this, and Wednesday is Symbaroum. We also run longer form one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. The kind of more time aware of you will realize that means we're running one this Saturday, which we are. It's going to be a session of Fiasco, which is a GM-less caper generator, kind of a Coen Brothers, the RPG. And that'll be a lot of fun. And that's starting at 3 o'clock this Saturday, 3 o'clock BST. And that's going to feature myself and 2 of the players from this game. Which ones? You'll have to tune in to find out, but it's Pierre and John. So, with that in mind, I think that covers everything. Let's get on to recaps of our Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition campaign, London Ascendant, and we're going to start by bringing on Pierre, I think. Pierre, our first player of the evening. Hello, Pierre.
Hello, Matt.
Hello. So, your coterie is involved in all kinds of goings-on, as it scrabbles for survival in a London controlled by the Second Inquisition. But you started last week by finishing off a task that had been assigned to you. And how did that start?
Well, we had a plan, It was a good plan. Well, it was a plan. We were going to talk to Rowena, who's a gangrel who used to be a sheriff, and who we were thinking maybe we could use this incredible force of violence to deal with our other problem, which was that we had to kill or intimidate or sort out the Anak problem. So we went to Regent's Park, and things were pretty scary, and there was a large naked wolf man or something horrifying, beastly. And it was almost worse that we successfully managed to convince Rowena to come with us. Well, I mean, originally we thought, yeah, we'll just send her off and she'll go on her own. But no, she wanted us to introduce her to the Anaks. And when somebody like that tells you what to do, you sort of do it. So, yeah, that's what we did.
You managed to convince Rowena. I realised as well when I brought you on, Pierre, I didn't actually say who your character is, which is horrible considering we have this lovely new character art of Oscar Kane, our resident Tremere antiquarian and all-around nice chap, asterisk. Yeah, this art, which is made by Pierre himself. So, yes. Enjoy that, folks. So Rowena then went with you to confront the Annex, and to talk about that, let's bring on someone for whom confronting the Annex was very close and dear to their heart. Let's bring on John. John plays Arthur Norris, who's our resident Ventru high-class drug dealer. And yeah, how did that unfold, John?
Well, it started as one would expect, slightly tense and unwelcoming. Arthur was advised by a fantastic advisor, Alex, to try flattery of the Anarch leader, Johnny Gallagher, and yet Arthur just couldn't seem to get any form of flattery out, whether it was Gallagher not accepting it or just Arthur just couldn't come up with something flattering.
It's almost like you had some history.
Some kind of
Almost.
grudge involving a canal.
So everything started to go a bit like it went last time, descending into threats of violence, right up until Johnny decided to get up in Rowena's face. And Rowena delivered what I believe is the best backhanded blow of the entire campaign so far.
And there have been
there's been two contenders.
And this was my favourite, which left Johnny Gallagher bleeding on the floor, holding his jaw in place. And Rowena basically said, come and meet me if you want to fight or get along.
Yeah. And she was
really
definitely
cool.
addressing the annex as a whole at this point, not specifically Johnny Gallagher, who clearly lost a tremendous amount of face in that very brief conflict.
And it was great.
It was glorious.
Arthur was very happy about it.
After that, the coterie split up into two groups. Oscar and Alex went off hunting, and Arthur and Mandrel. God, what did you do? Did you just go straight back to Down Street?
We went hunting for Mandrel first.
Oh, but successfully.
Broke into a hotel,
yes.
but successfully, and then went back to Down Street.
Yeah. So the coterie split in two, and to talk about what happened back at Down Street after that successful hunt, let's bring on Justin. Justin plays Mandrel, our resident Nosferatu architect and crafts lady.
That's true. So back at the Haven, we ran into some of our ghouls who had been startled by a cat, and after calming them down, we investigated said cat to find, surprisingly, Sebastian Marley, a noted Nosferatu who's involved in our mission. Sebastian encouraged us to attend a meeting, guided on the way to the meeting by Z with the King of Shadows, which is a very convoluted sentence. Arthur and Mandrel collected themselves and headed down into the tunnels.
Yeah, Sebastian, to sum it up, yeah, Sebastian, on behalf presumably of the mission, but who knows, is trying to secure a greater allowance of passage beneath London from the King of Shadows, who claims everything underground as their domain.
Why wouldn't you? If you could.
If you could. I'd certainly do it.
Arthur didn't know anything about right up until that point. Yeah.
Good.
No one had told me or I think Alex anything about any kind of king or anything going on in the tunnels.
Yeah, to be honest, this is one of those times where I'm just disappointed that Matt didn't let me keep hold of my secret forever and allow the story to never advance forward, so that I could have the fun of being one of the only people who knew about the king.
Hey, it's tempting. My finger was hovering over the cancel stream series button. So let's finally bring on Neill, who plays Alex Taylor Brown, our resident Malkavian prophet of doom and devout follower of Mithras. So when you finally arrive back at Down Street with Oscar, I believe there was someone waiting for you.
Yes, Alex's dear sire was waiting for them, and after a brief introduction and complaints at the elders ruling our mission, said that he wished to take myself and Oscar to scout a small building of no importance, simply one of the Second Inquisition that had not been properly scouted before, and that Rosa Bowie might be held captive inside. Oh, and his coterie was with us, including Oscar Sire, who he had not seen since that night.
Yeah. Well, you don't know at what point this coterie will be involved, but he certainly mentioned their involvement in a broader sense in this. So yeah, and that's more or less where we left off, I think. So we're going to pick up the evening again with the coterie kind of split in two, and we're going to start with the tunnel snakes. We're going to start with Mandrill and Arthur. So let's boot Pierre and Neill to the curb for now, and carry on with these guys as is. Hi. So, yeah, you've started venturing down the tunnels in the direction which Sebastian Marley indicated where Z could be found, but realistically, you have no idea how long you have to walk. Or if there's specific routes you have to go down. I guess you just kind of have to have faith that Sebastian hasn't sent you on some kind of bizarre wild goose chase. As you're walking down it, though, it seems to me an ideal opportunity for Arthur to ask Mandrill who the hell the King of Shadows is. So why don't we just have that conversation as you walk along? A lot of the tunnels down here are still kind of dimly lit by kind of low energy lamps on the sides of the walls. London's got a very good underground maintenance. So yeah,
even if they were high energy, they'd still be gloomy. So they're thematic.
It's true. So why don't we do that conversation?
So, Mandrill, quick question.
Yes.
What the fuck?
I don't quite know exactly what you're getting at, Arthur.
What I'm getting at is that apparently we should have been aware of some kind of neighbor of ours called the King of Shadows, which is a fairly impressive title to not know about.
Well, obviously this person's going to be very good at hiding themselves. This must be why you didn't know about them.
Right.
Everyone who needs to know about these things appears to know about them. Sebastian knows about them, so our superiors know about them.
Well, seeing as how we're going to meet them, is there anything else that everyone else knows about them?
As far as I can tell, they're somebody who must have moved into the extensive warrens below London after the fall. And they've used that time since to establish some sort of claims to these tunnels, such that we can't use them, or should fear to use them. I'm unclear. It's unclear to me whether they're actually powerful, which is very likely actually, or whether they are merely playing a bad hand well. Either way, I think for at least for now, we have no need to go further into the tunnels. Well, at least, Arthur, I don't think you want to spend too much time down here. And I'm happy to stay with the tunnels we have for the moment. Mission, on the other hand, might want more space or more room to maneuver.
Well, if the King of Shadows has been ruling over the tunnels for this long, presumably the Second Inquisition don't have much of a hold on them.
I don't know if anything can be assumed. If we were, well, Arthur, it's just another one of those dangerous situations that we're put in.
You mean London?
I mean the Cameron.
At this point, you don't so much round a corner as you're in a kind of long curving tunnel, something that evidently at one point was part of the tube system, but now no longer, or at least you certainly hope not, because you're wandering straight down the middle of it. And as you follow this curve ahead of you, you see kind of a slight flickering extra light ahead of you, and as you round it about 50 feet ahead of you, you see an individual stood in the middle of the tunnel. You can't really make them out all that well from here, but what you can see is holding in one hand, holding it quite far away from their body, they have a kind of guttering magnesium torch. The ones with on like a, there's a metal base, and it looks like a kind of modern equivalent of like a fantasy torch. It's guttering and giving off kind of white sparks onto the ground. Not a thing that typically a vampire might particularly want to be handling, but it's probably better than an open flame.
I'm going to keep approaching this individual, but
Sure.
with probably sensing the beast on them, just in case it's a trap.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you give me your roll for that as you approach?
I'll do that. Give me 1 second just to pull the roll together.
Arthur, what are you kind of approaching with more or less caution than Mandrel? Are you defaulting? I can imagine in this situation, Arthur's kind of used to being the one in front and the one talking. You are Venture after all, but perhaps down here, you will maybe naturally fall a step behind Mandrel.
I think true leadership means knowing when to follow. So
Sure.
yes,
Sure. Like there's lots of that in the Anarch event. Yeah. 2 successes.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means that it's an opposed roll against the composure plus subterfuge of the person who I am.
Oh, I think probably not then. I think it's probably not a success.
That's fair enough.
I have not yet created these stats, but I can tell you that their composure subterfuge is definitely not 2. So no, you don't really pick up anything. Perhaps you're disoriented by the odd guttering light, or just the sense of stepping into the unknown here. But as you get closer, you can see that, well, if this isn't Z, they are at the very least another Nosferatu.
That's good to know.
Z's skin has a kind of like a very slight greenish cast to it, and he has odd kind of widely spaced, almost kind of amphibian-esque features. He's wearing a set of grey battered jeans, and they're being held up kind of like a set of suspenders is holding them up, and underneath is a white t-shirt with a very kind of slightly faded cartoonish logo of someone in kind of skin headgear kicking someone in a Nazi uniform up the ass.
Cool. Are they making any kind of reaction to our approach?
They're definitely watching your approach. He's watching your approach.
Then I'm going to keep approaching until I probably get around. Unless I'm interrupted, it'll be until I get about 6 foot away. At which point I might introduce myself.
Sure. You walk up and presumably introduce yourself by name.
Yeah, I'm Mandrel. Can I presume that you're our guide for the evening?
Yeah, that's me. Nice night for it.
So where to first?
Well, first, there's the matter of my feet.
Sure. What can we? What were you thinking of in particular? It wasn't discussed previously with Sebastian.
Well, it definitely was. But you know how elders are. It's, well, some of the good stuff.
Sure.
2 drinks. I've already had one from Marley. I don't want to take my chances with someone who might be related to him. I'm sure you understand.
There's nothing to do with me. I can't. Can I? With Sense the Beast, I think I'm able to detect hunger levels. I forget, or was that something else?
Potentially, but you failed, didn't you?
I know, but I'm not thinking. I'm thinking of looking over at Arthur and seeing if Arthur
and
can
seeing
take 2
how-
drinks.
well,
Without.
he
it was
said he
one
already
drink.
had 1 drink from Marley, so it would just be
Okay.
1 drink from Arthur.
Well, I mean, Arthur, are you saying anything immediately?
I don't think so. I don't.
I'm not related to Molly at all. If Arthur's looking at all uneasy, I'm just going to say, Marley's no part of my lineage at all. You can
I
drink
think
from
I'm
me
just
once.
looking vaguely grossed out. I'll be honest.
Z is kind of shrugging and saying, "It's better to be safe than sorry. I can wait for you to bring back someone else."
All right. I'll undo a cufflink and
I can
roll up
avert
my
my
sleeve,
eyes.
and
He
probably
quite-
also avert my eyes.
quite gently takes your wrist and says, "It's not so bad," and leans over, and you feel, Mandrill, if you're looking, you can see that Z has quite sharp, like thin, sharp, almost needle-like teeth, and he embeds them in Arthur's wrist, and drinks fast and quite slickly, if that's the word, not in terms of consistency, but kind of, it's very quick, and it's done kind of, he doesn't spend time kind of, kind of, when a vampire drinks from another, often they're reluctant to let go. It seems, well, you know what, why don't you give me a resolve plus insight roll here?
Can we both do it, or is it just for?
Yeah, you
John?
can both do it. I think you can both do it, but I'll put John's difficulty 1 lower. John can take a difficulty of 3, and Mandrill a difficulty of 4.
What is my hunger at the point of rolling this dice? Is it 1 higher?
No, not 1 higher. We'll use your old hunger. That's fine.
Okay. Only 1 success.
3 successes.
But I think we set yours at 4, didn't we? So
That's true. Yeah, I'll leave it
people
be.
can use a willpower to reroll if they want, or anything like that. No.
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 Nothing immediately occurs to you about what this might mean. So he drinks from you quickly and efficiently. Obviously, Arthur knocked your hunger up by 1, and then he stands back up, kind of wiping a bit of blood off his chin with his hand. He nods in quite a satisfied manner and says, "Yeah, good stuff, good stuff," and turns around, walks over to the side passage, like a passage off the side of the main tunnel, wrenches open a large kind of cage gate, and kind of indicates over his shoulder and walks into the dark. Although obviously it's not the dark when he's carrying a magnesium torch. You don't need me to explain that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Are you? I'm assuming you're following him.
Yes.
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 Okay. That's cool. Let's do a switcheroo. Let's swap Justin and John for Pierre and Neill, please. So I believe you guys have headed off from Down Street more or less immediately with Brazil to try and scope out this building. Brazil, unless one of you engages him in conversation, is just going to start walking, and it isn't particularly going to be terribly chatty. And we'll just walk through the streets of London, leading you along, unless one of you actively engages him. Is either of you going to do that?
I'm not.
Okay.
I will, however,
Yeah.
be taking careful attention to everything that's going on, especially if there's, I don't know, Second Inquisition snipers on the rooftops, things like that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, let's have a role that isn't necessarily specifically for Second Inquisition snipers, but is for kind of like obviously like maintaining a knowledge of where you are and like noticing things around you and stuff like that. So why don't we have a resolve plus streetwise roll? Oscar, you can feel free to do that if you want as well. No target. We'll just hand out information based on how well you do.
I got one success off
3
4
successes
dice.
on 5 dice.
So, Oscar, you think you're going towards the river.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're not really that sure. Alex, on the other hand, you are fairly sure he's taking you a somewhat circuitous route, but you're fairly sure that he's leading you into Westminster, and you've already kind of scouted around near Buckingham Palace, and you're kind of further in from Big Ben. So you have a fairly good idea of where you are. You are also aware that quite a lot of this area is very heavily covered with security cameras. And you see more than one Operation Antigen graffiti.
Have we... I don't think we've used Blush of Life yet.
You haven't stated that you have. No, weirdly, because you've been out and about, but no one, I think, did last week, or I don't know.
We didn't, because we were doing Kindred stuff last time. But I think just to be on the safe side, I'm going to, when I can surreptitiously, get Oscar's attention and visibly use the Blush of Life while holding your hand or your shoulder or something, so that you can see and feel that I.
Yeah, feel like the warmth flush through. Which occurred to me, being that Oscar went to see one of his blood dealers. Perhaps they should have been like, "What? You look awful." But hey, there we go.
And I have failed my rouse check, so I'm now on hunger 2.
Okay.
I succeeded my rouse check.
Oscar,
What?
Thank you.
Not like me to succeed at something.
So, as I say, he's taking you through Westminster. You're quite near to Buckingham Palace and other places of power and significance in the country. He's going to obviously lead you to where you need to go. Now that you've realised where you are you going to say anything to him or to the others in any way, or just going to let Brazil do his thing?
So it's just us 3 at the moment.
It's just the 3 of you, yeah.
As far as we can see.
Yeah, sure.
I might mention to Alex, I've noticed that you're not bringing anything up with Brazil. Do I actually know his name? I don't know if I actually can remember his name, given his...
He introduced himself as Cortland anyway.
Yeah, well, I know he's not Cortland.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's up to you. It's up to you, Alex.
I'll just
whether
say
you might have mentioned the name of your sire, because I think he can put 2 and 2 together about you being
Alex would not have
his
done.
child.
Okay. So,
but you would know. But he did say that I was his child, so you would know that.
Yes.
So I notice you're being quite tactful around your sire. Should we be avoiding bringing anything up?
Is Brazil looking at us, as Oscar says? Okay, then
although,
I'll say...
although from how you know him, there is zero chance he does not hear this conversation.
Oh no, this just the sight I'm concerned with. So I'll say to him, and I'll point to my ears very obviously. Of course, I am tactful about my sire, for I must show the proper deference to everything. It is simply that until we have arrived at our destination, I have nothing new to bring to the discussion. When we are there, I am sure we will have plenty to say.
Yes, I'm sure. I just feel like maybe we would be well served by getting some plans of this place or sketching things out. I'm not exactly the best at sneaking around, so I'm a little worried as to my role. I mean, I'm thinking that maybe all I could be used for is bait. Anyway,
I am sure that'd be an excellent suggestion you could make to Brazil, Oscar. But I'm sure that other opportunities will present themselves. Unfortunately, until we arrive, I cannot be of any deeper assistance than you, only to
Okay.
say that if we are being brought in, I am sure that our skills have been taken into account by my good sire.
Why don't we actually have Brazil's card up at this point? I think because we have mentioned Brazil, and I realise the slight futility of saying Brazil looks really anonymous. Here's what he looks like, but there the style of the card is obviously meant to be artistic, but also it's a rather good indication of the fact that Brazil is quite hard to get a hold of visually and specifically in your mind after you see him. He's clearly an experienced practitioner of obfuscate, and but typically he is on that, topless, just wearing jeans, kind of hair just down to his shoulders, and just a really average looking dude who's super easy to forget. Who was that guy? You walk through the streets of London until you reach a street called Palmer Street. It has an awful lot of security cameras on it, and at the very end of the road, you pass a very large graffiti with antigen scrawled, kind of stenciled in bright yellow letters up the side of one building, easily the largest antigen graffiti you've seen so far. Brazil kind of leans against a lamppost just at the end of the street and motions for both of you to kind of come in close.
I approach.
He gestures further down the street and says, "Do you see that really boring looking building up there?" And we can see it.
Oh, it's so boring.
Of course.
Well, that, friends, used to be a government communication facility. Someone else took it over. You can see the one thing about that picture that isn't quite accurate is like the lights on the bottom floor here are definitely still dimly lit, even though it's getting to be kind of the wee small hours of the morning.
So it seems like somebody's still home.
Someone's always home, as far as I can tell.
I would assume that approaching directly is a foolish endeavor.
There's something to be said for taking a casual stroll by, hoping they don't have those newfangled vampire detection cameras.
Alex cringes slightly at the open word vampire. Well, they certainly do have cameras.
I often wonder, there's so much helpful graffiti around. I wonder if it's left up intentionally.
Brazil nudges Alex and says, "This one's a bit smarter than he looks."
But of course, he would not have survived these dangerous, crime-filled streets of London in the recent days and nights if he were not.
The question, Mr. Kane, is, are they left up as a warning or as a lure? Why don't you find out for us? You said you wanted to be bait. Why don't you walk down to the end of this street, double back, up a different street, and tell us what you see?
And, of course, look out for graffiti on the way.
Sure.
Respectable gent like you shouldn't get much attention.
Assuming they're not looking for a respectable gents. Sure. I'll start walking in the general direction that he's
Sure.
indicated, or that they have indicated. I have no idea, I think, of the gender of this person, probably.
You broadly think of them as a he, I think. Their appearance is more ambiguous than their person, if that makes sense. So you walk down the street. Are you trying to be nonchalant, stealthy? The street is empty. It's as I say, it's about 2:00 in the morning.
So I think I'm going to try to be nonchalant, like vaguely nonchalant. Maybe I'll just sort of be humming to myself.
Sure. Polishing an apple on your lapel.
Yeah. I think that's my approach.
Sure. In my head, Oscar Kane being nonchalant is the same as like Homer Simpson being nonchalant, like just marching forward, like
with a top hat.
With a top hat. So you walk forward. I take it as you go, you're trying to kind of keep your eyes open, trying to keep your wits about you and spot anything you can.
Yes, but I think I'm prioritizing more the side of like performance rather than the side of keeping my wits about me, because I think keeping my wits about me fully makes me stand out way too much, and I'm a little bit freaked out.
Sure, well that's cool. Let's make 2 rolls then, shall we? Because I like that. Why don't you make a composure plus performance roll first?
Okay.
See how nonchalant you're being on a scale of 1 to 10. So why don't you make that roll for me with no target number, and then we'll have another roll after that.
So I'm rolling 5 dice, and I got 3 successes.
Messy critical, no. I don't know how I'd manage a messy critical of being nonchalant, but I'm
just
sorry. Yeah,
chalant.
Sorry. How many successes did you get?
3 successes overall.
Yeah, you're pretty. You feel pretty unobtrusive. You're just and a slightly older gentleman, maybe a bit inebriated, walking home. Late at night through Westminster. Well, why don't you then give me a resolve plus awareness roll?
Okay.
But dock yourself 1 die.
Okay.
Would that be a docking of 1 die or a raising of the difficulty? Things I don't really want to set a difficulty, so we'll just say a dock of 1 die.
Okay. Well,
that works. Yeah.
In that case,
it would actually be the die. Yeah.
3 dice, and I got 0 successes.
Okay, you really don't know. So you're too fixed on, your.
I'm like, come on, Oscar, you can perform.
Yeah, or your amateur dramatic days are coming back to you now.
Yeah, I'm really good at this.
You don't really have the time to notice anything. Obviously, you see what you saw before, that those lower windows, the lower floor, are kind of still dimly lit up. In that kind of like office late at night, but someone's still there or cleaning is happening or whatever. Where not all the rooms are lit, but you can see the corridors are lit, and But really, you don't pick up on anything else.
Sure. Okay, well, I'll keep going until I hit the spot where I can take a detour and returning back.
You can just turn around and go back another street and rejoin with Brazil and Alex. But while you're doing that, Alex, Brazil is going to turn and kind of face you and cross his arms and say, "Where did Sarah find that fucking idiot?"
I believe he had been corresponding with her for some time. He had discovered the existence of our society and was doing something.
Makes me nostalgic for the days that someone discovering our society would be drained dry and left in a ditch.
Yes. Not that I necessarily disagree with you, but perhaps some words we should not say near powerful cameras or microphones.
Sure.
It may be simple paranoia, but one never knows.
Clearly, I taught you well, Alex.
Indeed, and even had you not, which you did, this city itself is a powerful teacher.
How well do you think we're doing?
Oh, abysmally. But that was to be expected. I'm sure that given time, given effort, we will eventually prevail. Time is on our side after all.
Are you committed to this?
Of course.
All right. Oscar walks around the corner.
So, were you keeping watch? Did anything change as I walked?
Nothing.
Everything appears to be the same. Did you notice any graffiti?
Only that which I saw on the way. But seemingly everything seems relatively normal, which I guess they put a lot of effort into maintaining.
Is it, I'll turn to Brazil slightly, is it our intention to break in tonight?
No.
Then perhaps we should wait until a final worker leaves for the night, and perhaps we could follow them and ask them questions, or otherwise gather entrance criteria.
There are some workers and guards here all the way through the night.
But surely someone leaves.
Oh, yeah, people leave. Do we want to take the risk that they're not monitored somehow?
I mean, they probably are.
I feel that they probably are monitored, but so perhaps we should only take them immediately before any other activities, so that there is little time for them to do anything about it. Unless we have another idea of a entrance, perhaps a secret entrance. If I were running some kind of secret investigation, I might secure myself a secret entrance and exit for my captives. I'm sure they did not bring Rose through the streets.
I think that's a wonderful idea. And I can't help but notice that right down at the end of this road is a slightly lower roof.
Well, perhaps that should be our next area of investigation.
Yes. And you know what? I get the feeling that no matter what we do here tonight, chaps, someone is going to see something. So I propose speed. Let's walk down the end to that lower roof, and then very quickly, one of us is going to get up on that roof, up on the main roof, and have a look around.
Excellent. I'll raise my hand and gesture before walking.
He starts strolling forwards down the end of the road.
Sure.
In fact, if we bring up the picture just briefly again, I don't want to have it up fully all the time or anything, but if we bring it up briefly again, you can even see that lower roof. That's what he's talking about there. Looks like maybe it's a pub or something. It's got a sign on it. Yeah, lovely. I don't know why I'm gesturing again with my mouse. No one can see.
Are there any cars driving at all at this time of night? Yeah. Nothing like that.
There's not a lot of traffic in the centre of Westminster anyway, and like at this time of night, no, there's nothing. There's just this kind of like cold stillness to the air.
Sure. Is there any obvious like garage or place where cars might go?
No.
Okay.
How about sewer grates?
Sure. Yeah, there's a couple of sewer grates.
Then I'll make a note of those to investigate, either to use to flee or to investigate afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like Arthur, I don't know about a King of Shadows either. So.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So you stroll down to the end. Brazil then turns sharply at the end of the street, skips over the road, and kind of turns with his back to the wall, kind of kneels slightly down and presents cupped hands for someone.
I look expectantly at Alex.
Well, I'll turn Silence of Death on. Not that it will do me much good for this bit.
Sure.
And I will get ready to take the proffered hand up.
Sure. Why don't you give me... I think either strength or dexterity is fine. Either strength or dexterity plus athletics roll, and you can have... I think you can have a boost of 2 dice for Brazil's pitching you upwards.
Do I want a blood surge?
I'm going to say the difficulties... I don't know. It looks like a reasonable roof to be boosted onto, especially by vampires. So I'll say the difficulty at 3. How about that?
I'm going to go without a blood surge. See how that goes.
Sacrilege.
I'm going to use willpower.
Oh no!
I went from total failure to 3 successes.
Hey, there we go. So yeah, it's a bit of a close call, but you kind of manage to get your arms over the edge of that lower roof and heave yourself up and kind of roll to one side. It's not the smoothest ascent nor the quietest. Oh no, it is quiet because you have Silence of Death on. The roof that you're on, it has it's almost like a triangular space. Below, presumably, is just a pub room. Over on the side of the Second Inquisition building is just a sheer brick wall. The other side is a kind of a fire escape leading upwards to the slightly slanted roof of the pub, which seems to be, at immediate glance, not too difficult to perhaps leap from one to the other.
Famous last words.
Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Charging run up.
Sure.
I have all my dots in potence after all.
After all, yeah. So you get up this fire escape and onto the kind of slant. And honestly, the most challenging thing is actually the slant of the roof you're on makes it quite difficult to gain your footing to pitch off because it's only maybe 3 or 4 feet that you have to leap. But yeah, it's moderately challenging footing. What is your... can you get, with a dexterity plus athletics roll, can you get a take half of 2 at all?
No, I have 3.
Okay. In that case, you need 2 successes, so you're going to need to roll.
Then I'm going to have to blood surge to be reliable and have anything to willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And... pass the blood surge, 3 successes, 2 successes, 3 successes, sorry. One
Great.
Die.
So you gain your footing fairly well, leap your way across and land on the gravel roof of the Second Inquisition building. It's a very flat gravel roof with a low wall ringing around it, up to maybe your knees. On the top of it is a number of typical rooftop things. There's some air conditioning outflows and stuff like that, and there is over near the end on the other side of the other end of the building, so maybe a minute or so's walk away, is obviously a door into the building. One of those kind of it's coming up out of the base of the roof, and there is what looks like a very sturdy metal door.
I'm going to use a premonition on said door to try to figure out if there's even any point me going over there, trying, being hit with a flamethrower, something like that.
Sure, yeah.
So it's Rails check and resolve plus Auspex.
It was the door of prophecy. Foretold for generations.
This door is Mithras.
Oh no!
Nice. Passed Rails check and 4 successes.
Okay. And there's no kind of like indicator table of how much info to give you based on number of successes or anything, is there?
No, I think I'll just double check. I think the base
Fifth ed's
difficulty
pretty
is
low on stuff like
2.
that, unfortunately.
The yeah, just the number of successes
Sure.
determines stuff. The
Sure.
level of insight.
Okay,
So
well, I know obviously often we go quite not abstract or surreal, I guess, but quite flowery with your premonitions. But for this one, I think you just get a definite sense. Briefly, the world overlays, and you see kind of an impenetrable stone wall laid around that doorway and around this roof. You definitely get the sensibility that a barrier exists between you and below that cannot be penetrated by anything less than something of significant power.
So I thought, looking around briefly now that I'm here, is there anything else of interest? An air vent,
Sure.
air conditioner.
Why don't you give me now? How quickly are you making this?
Pretty quickly at this point?
Okay, so wit's more appropriate than resolve then.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, let's go for a wits plus larceny roll. I think that's the most appropriate.
Seems annoyingly fair.
That's me.
Rolling 1 dice.
4 dice, 4 successes.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Rolling well today.
that is good. So, you remember those air conditioning units I mentioned? One of them is quite a newish build thing. It's one of those, the revolving metal ball type things that's pumping out warmer air into the night sky. But it appears to have been constructed over what looks like quite an old ventilation system, and it doesn't quite fit. You can see where there's a gap kind of in between where one is far larger than the other, and you get the sense that, well, perhaps that could be, it could be a point of egress.
Okay. Is there a camera up here?
Yes, there is a camera up here, and it's over kind of by that doorway.
Okay. Okay, then I think in the interest of speed, unless there's anything obviously interesting I can spot, I'm just going to lean back over to where Brazil is, and just say, impenetrable door. I have to whisper this without breaking my silence of death. But impenetrable door can probably get in by air conditioners.
Oscar, Alex is whispering inaudibly on the top of the roof, but Brazil has kind of his head caught. Oh, hang on. Oscar, do you have Auspex? I don't think you do you?
I have Auspex. I have Sense the Unseen.
Oh, you don't have heightened senses? Yes, of course. Yeah. Brazil has his ear cocked, and he just kind of nods, and you see him go.
I will jump down relatively quickly then.
Yeah, I think especially with the better footing here, I don't think I'll make you roll to leap back. You climb down the fire escape, and then you can drop off the side of the kind of that low roof, and you are back down with Oscar and Brazil.
Well, an impenetrable door and an air conditioning unit. I did not have a chance to examine it in full detail to alert them. There is also a camera up there. I feel that we should perhaps make our move somewhere else for the moment.
That's an excellent assessment. That's all I found as well.
Perhaps in the sewers to see if there is another entrance beneath.
Sewers?
Why, yes.
You think it's a good idea to go underground out of your territory?
No more than it is to be above ground out of it.
Oh, I thought your coterie had been around London already. Let's walk and talk. He strides off, not in the direction you came, further away, kind of down the end of the road where you are now.
I will follow.
Sure. As we're walking, do I get any sense of the amount of foot traffic that usually comes down this road, or like is this a hugely popular building?
I mean, you don't really get any sense of that because there's no one around at the
I'm
moment.
just like signs of wear and tear, or like
places in Westminster that don't have a lot of foot traffic are few and far between.
Sure. Okay.
Brazil walks you, not too far away, maybe another street or so, and then kind of turns and lays down on a bench at the side of the road with his feet crossed up on one arm of it, and his other hands kind of folded behind the back of his head, and says, "So, I take it you haven't really been underground apart from down street."
Fortunately, we have not had cause to.
Some of us have.
Brazil's eyes flick to you. Oscar. This is interesting. Can we have a defensive roll here? Yeah, I think so. Can you roll composure plus subterfuge?
Okay.
And it's going to be against the difficulty of Brazil's. Yeah, this is going to be challenging. Can you put it against a difficulty 4, please?
Okay, I've got a dice pool of 4, difficulty 4.
Is there any chance that I can pick up on this by play, given that Oscar did mutter some of us have, and do the same and try and see if there's anything going on there?
Yeah, why not? Go for it.
Wits and insight?
Yes.
Okay. So I rolled a failure. One success.
Okay.
I rolled 6 successes on 6 dice. I'm doing well. Doing well.
Poker face.
Yeah, Oscar definitely knows something about this.
Can't keep it in.
Brazil is just kind of like lets out one of his low chuckles, and just rather annoyingly starts singing a gentle little song about how you're not talking to each other.
I will give Oscar a very, very pointed stare.
Let's look. We all know warlocks like their little secrets, sometimes even more than the rats do. So why don't we let the Tremere tell us a story about the king?
Well,
yes,
we were going to come to this at some point.
Of course.
We were approached by a king, as your sire says, a king of shadows, who claims the underground, at least much of it. We perhaps are going to meet him at some point, but so far we have not. There's not much more to say.
Seems like it would have been a nice piece of information to share with your friends, what with you being down there already and all.
It is fortunate that we have not had to travel in that way, with the hunters hunting us. Why, some danger could have befallen us. I am very disappointed, Oscar.
I take it that you have no secrets whatsoever.
I have none that would harm the coterie not to know. We all have secrets. That is the nature of society. What is important is that we do not leave each other to danger with those secrets.
I fully agree.
And conspiring with the Nosferatu.
I don't know. I'll conspire with any friend.
Against any other, of course.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps we should move away and, if the sewers are not a possible path of entrance, at least we have discovered one possible route on the roof.
You can try down in the sewers if you want. You'll just end up owing this king something. And I don't like to deal with people I don't really know.
I feel we'll be quite all right. Especially if one of us is capable enough to rip off the air conditioner.
So, what was your intention getting us seen by all these cameras?
I just don't think it's fair that you didn't get a chance to scope out the place yourself. And I don't like being the only one on all the cameras.
Sure.
It'll be a couple of nights before we make the move. My coterie arrives, your coterie arrives. We come up with our plan of attack. And we hope we come out.
That sounds at least as good as everything else we have done these past few weeks.
I'm glad you think so. After all, it is a noble mission we are on. Claps his hands together and stands up. And every sacrifice can and should be made. Isn't that right, Mr. Kane?
Oh, you're a funny one. Sure.
I just need to make sure that everyone is willing to burn for the cause.
Alex is nodding.
Good night. Turns on his heel, just starts wandering away, whistling a kind of tuneless melody.
Well, I feel that we should go back to rest, Oscar. We have had quite enough excitement for one day. I'm also going to stop, turn my head, and walk in a meandering direction of the haven.
Sure. I shake my head and I follow.
Okay. As you both walk off, I want you to both give me a roll. And I'm going to make it slightly easier for Oscar just because Alex walked off first.
Okay.
But Alex's pool on this kind of thing is huge, so they'll probably succeed as well.
Who knows?
I would like a wits plus awareness roll, please.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Does heightened senses apply? Because I would have had it on throughout this entire experience.
Yeah, I think so, to a certain degree. Take an extra. Is it normally an extra 2 dice?
It's 3 because I have 3 specs.
Oh.
Yeah, sure. Take all 3.
What's the difficulty?
The difficulty for you will be 3, and for Alex will be 4.
And does instincts apply?
No.
I got 3 successes.
Only 9 dice. 1, 2. I need to roll willpower. Now is when my luck. Otherwise, I get a bestial failure.
This is where your luck's run out. 4
successes.
Okay. I mean, Oscar's closer, so I think he'll see it first. Okay. But Alex, it'll definitely catch the corner of Alex's eye. Above you on a lamppost, the tall, old-fashioned lampposts that have the cross strut on them about 2/3 of the way up. Perched on that, up above you, is a huge snow white owl.
Oh, God damn
it. It hoots softly and then just swoops away into the night.
Right. This is the first time I've ever seen that, right? I think
you were certainly there when it happened, but I don't know if
I
you
was
saw
there,
it.
but I think it was Arthur.
Yeah, because Arthur nearly got clipped by it and then just went sprawling, I think.
Yeah. Holy hell.
Any reaction or comment on this?
I go up to Alex. You saw that, right?
Oh yes, it was. Did I not tell you about the one from
the
other night at the gathering?
Yeah. What is?
I believe it is an owl, Oscar. They are birds of prey. They tend to hunt rats and things like that, Oscar.
Yeah, sarcasm is well suited to you and your sire.
I truly love how both Oscar's obvious, kind of perceived slight betrayal and the prolonged presence of his sire really brings out the passive aggressive in Alex.
Yeah. Oh man.
As for anything else, I believe some of our society are able to make pets of many animals, particularly those of our society who are of Wynn's family. I do not mean to say that it was such a person's pet, but it is a striking thing that a noble person like that might have.
And not, yeah, okay.
Whether he is watching us or Brazil is another matter.
So, is there anything the two of you are going to do on your way back to Down Street, assuming that's where you're heading?
I'm tempted to make a hunting roll just in case, but I don't need to. But I prefer to do it now before I need to.
Sure. Yeah. Are you going to try and locate one of your little cult and do that, or do you want to make a more kind of standard roll?
I'm actually going to try hunting.
Just hunting. Shall we maybe use the alley cat roll for that then? Because that's kind of the default hunting roll, right?
Oh no, I didn't mean like hunting as in like a prey. I mean I'm not going to use my herd. I'm going to go looking in any kind of related societies rather than trying to use the herd points, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay, I see. So
otherwise, I'm happy to hit the club.
Sure.
Would you like some assistance?
So what would your what would your default hunting roll be then?
Manipulation plus persuasion.
Sure. Well, why don't we then? I'm assuming you're going to wait until you're back in Mayfair.
Yes, definitely. In our
turn. That's a 4 difficulty there, isn't it?
Yeah. Manipulation plus subterfuge is
manipulation plus subterfuge. Okay. Well, this is one of the things where it's like if you're not having a meeting of your own little personal cult, it's like where does the Osiris hunting come from? And I guess it perhaps wandering the streets, maybe even looking for vulnerable looking people, kind of people who might be easily persuaded to.
That seems like what Alex would do.
Go to a darkened area with you, sort of thing. Yeah, sure. Why don't we do that then? Back in Mayfair. Are you engaging the aid of Oscar?
I will probably say I am going to look for a meal. Would you like to come with me to? I feel that we should have a partner in case of incidents.
Yeah, absolutely. Allow me to make up for perhaps keeping some secrets.
Yes.
So, yeah, do you have subterfuge, Oscar Kane?
I do.
In that case, Alex, feel free to take an extra die and make your roll a difficulty 4.
Subterfuge 2, in fact.
I'm going to blood surge because I never like having lower than the average.
Sure. So
that gives me, I have no idea how many dice. It gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 dice. And so I failed my blood surge, but I did get 4 successes. Okay,
well that still rounds out as a.
So I think so. If I just so if I nom down to hunger 2, I'm down to hunger 1.
You're still down by 1, yeah.
Yeah.
So you find an individual in the street. You're not sure if they're a homeless gentleman or simply someone down on their luck, but they're kind of wandering around and kind of talking to themselves softly, not in an intimidating fashion, but just they have some private world that they are engaged in, and it is a matter of moments with your kind of your charisma and your personality to impinge upon them, that you have come to them as a representative of these things they see and experience, and they walk quite happily with you into a quiet alleyway, if that is what you wish.
Yes, I'll speak to them with enlightenment. I will talk about my fellow adherent. I will give them wisdom and guidance and comfort, and then give them the pleasure of the kiss, then cloud their memory and walk away.
Absolutely. As you drink from them, you get a sensation, only a subtle one, that comes through in their blood. This individual, they have not great things, not special things, not blood red suns hanging in a dead sky, but they have seen things on the streets of London, things that perhaps couldn't be explained, things perhaps even outside of your own perception, and you get just the vaguest sense of that flowing through you as you drink. Translation: their blood is fleeting phlegmatic. So I believe all that does is mean you can buy points of Auspex and dominate if you wanted to, but I doubt you do at the moment. So a successful hunt, and you head back to Down Street. Let's have a player swap, please. It's time to find out what's going on down in them tunnels. So when we last left you, Z had led you into a side tunnel by the light of his guttering magnesium torch, and you was setting a decent pace as you walk off into the darkness. Are you communicating with him in any way, or with each other in any way?
What? I don't think so.
I will at some point say, so is there anything we should know about anything? This king.
Is it addressed at Mandrill or Z? Right.
At Z.
At Z. I would remind you, because I think a couple of people have mentioned, you are aware that you're going to talk to the king's agent, not the king.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Z shrugs and says, depends what you already know.
I know that there is a king of shadows.
Well, that's not very much.
I know. Shoot a significant look at Mandrill.
I feel like Mandrill, the main sound coming from Mandrill is the crunching of like their feet on like the gravel of the subway tunnel, and occasionally when Mandrill is feeling particularly observed, the crunching stops inexplicably as they kind of reflexively trigger their silence of death. And the only response you get from Mandrill is the occasion you can't hear her walking.
As Z seems to dwell on your question a little bit, and then kind of comes up short in front of you, kind of peers around. You're in a kind of you've been going down a number of different tunnels, and this is kind of like a slightly more open chamber. It looks like maybe it was a maintenance point at some time in the past. There's a rusty metal cabinet on the wall where the door to it is kind of hanging off its hinges. He kind of looks round. Turns to look back at Mandrill and says, do you know where we are?
No.
Would you like to make a roll to see if you do?
Sure.
It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So, and I feel like it's worth asking you if you want to make the roll if it's very difficult, because obviously in V5, making very difficult rolls is could lead you to a bestial failure quite quickly.
I would like to make it a very difficult roll.
Sure. In that case, give me an intelligence plus... I'm open to suggestions, but I'm going to say an intelligence plus survival roll. And that's going to be at difficulty... difficulty 7.
There's a suggestion for Streetwise as well. Because Streetwise has
I'm
an
not
urban
sure.
survival specialty, even though that should maybe be in survival.
But I would say maybe urban survival doesn't even cover like underground tunnels and stuff. I don't know.
I guess.
I think survival is the most sensible option.
Because you have studied the maps of the underground, I'll let you use Streetwise if you've got more dice in it. How about that?
I do have more dice in it. The only things I would make any kind of argument for would be like previously we've done some roles with tunnels involving science engineering.
Yeah,
and I also have like for a stretch academics architecture, which I don't know whether any of that goes into any of it, like drafting of maps and things.
If you were planning a map or something, that would be absolutely the thing. But having been led through mostly dark tunnels, I think survival or Streetwise, I'm happy with you using Streetwise because you could maybe relate it to the maps of above in a way that other people couldn't if they hadn't studied it. So I'm happy for you to use Streetwise if you want, if that gives you more dice.
0 successes, 4 die rolls.
Okay.
So
no bestial failure though, right?
No, it was just a complete total failure,
That's
which
good.
I think really does fit Mandra. And I think also like this is probably has similar to like the labyrinth ability that you often get with Descendants of Zelios. So it's kind of like the idea is it's just terrifying how complex this is, and it's sort of like the kind of
London, everything underground in London is an absolute warren. With layers on layers of like centuries worth of underground digging. So although unlike Paris, at least it doesn't have catacombs. It's private chat. Neill has said, and don't forget the Fatbergs. Fortunately, not in the actual sewers. So there's not many Fatbergs around. Still, presumably Mandrel says no. Then in response to this, Z goes, "Oh, good." Turns around, plants his magnesium flare kind of between two cracked old bits of paving, hops up where kind of there's a you don't think it's 4 sitting on, but it's like a slightly raised level from maybe some adjustments being made to the tunnel, and just sits back and says, "So what's your offer?"
Really, we're open to suggestions. I look at Arthur. What's Arthur's reaction to the whole thing?
The Nosferatu have offered a number of boons at their disposal.
In return for
more access to the tunnels, ability to move about.
What level of access? Marley said unrestricted.
Yeah, fair enough then. In that case, I parrot that information.
That's a big ask.
Well, Sebastian's involved. There are other kindred who have considerable reach, not necessarily in London, but we have influence, and perhaps that will be of interest to you.
You might have influence later. At the moment, not so much. Hanging on by the skin of your teeth. No? I'll run it up the flagpole.
It's an investment in the future. No one could see the fall happening. And perhaps no one can see what's going to be happening after this.
Glorious rise of the Camarilla.
Camarilla's always survived previous inquisitions and previous attempts by the kind to fight back. This is just a temporary arrangement.
They do say a rising tide raises all ships.
I don't think the king wants to rise from down here. All I can do is talk to him. I've got his ear.
Good.
All right. I'll lead you back to where you know.
My
Thank
previous offer still stands as well. If the king needs anyone who to make alterations or repairs to fix some of these more dingy tunnels.
You're one of Zelios, aren't you?
Proudly so.
You have no idea what that means, Arthur.
Nope.
All right. That could be interesting. He stands up, picks up the magnesium torch, gives a kind of cheery wave with some slightly webbed fingers, and walks back through the tunnels. It takes you even longer to get back than it did to get here, and you're fairly sure he's leading you a completely different route. But as you emerge, you see that you are not, in fact, emerging out to where you met him. You are emerging out basically to Down Street, to the section where you talked to Marley, where you were lured into the shadows by the cat. He kind of steps back into the tunnel he's come from as he does so, and says, "You'll hear from me, probably. And we'll see if we can't get you an invitation, an audience with the court." He steps back into the darkness. There's like a as he closes off the magnesium torch, and then he seems to be gone.
Pleasure doing business with you, I say to the dark tunnel.
Are you going to share any words before you return into Down Street? Because I think we can safely say that if you do just go back into the main part of the Haven, by coincidence, Oscar and Alex will be arriving back at this point in time. But do you want to have any just words between you two before you do so?
If Arthur feels conversational, and regularly Arthur does.
Arthur is more going to say, very pointedly, and not entirely to himself, why do I feel like everyone in my coterie is making political movements without telling me?
Because
the Killing Shadows, Alex's siblings, whatever Oscar is doing.
Arthur, are you really upset that we're playing politics?
I'm upset that I'm not being informed.
You're upset that you're not involved.
Well.
And if you were involved, then everyone would be involved.
I'm upset that these things keep taking me by surprise, Mandrel. I'm being involved because they keep happening. And I'm always caught on the back foot.
Arthur, if I felt that you could keep a secret, I might tell you a few.
That seems a good point at which to perhaps stride back into the Haven. And as you do so, Alex and Oscar are returning. Let's have everyone on screen for the first time tonight. Good Lord. Good Lord. Yes, I think everyone can meet up and converse as they wish.
Whew. Sorry we were gone so long. You must have been wondering where we were.
Yeah. We could have done with you.
My sire requested our assistance, as we were warned would happen. Apparently, it is to invade a Second Inquisition building and rescue Rosa Bowie. Fortunately, it did not happen tonight, otherwise it would have been quite difficult.
Yeah, I got the impression that Mainly, we were just being dangled in front of the Second Inquisition to, make it so that when we do this mission, we are fed into a meat grinder while everyone else gets off scot-free. I haven't had the best night. I'm sorry. Oh, God.
Probably saying this looking at Arthur, but I go to Oscar. Oscar, if you keep talking like that, people are going to start thinking I have an influence on you.
Yeah. God. Whereabouts were you? Were you hunting? Or
I look at Arthur.
I look to Mandrill.
Seems like an awfully long time to be hunting rats. It's usually only a couple of hours.
The ghouls were startled by a cat in the tunnels.
That doesn't sound like our ghouls.
You'd be surprised. I need
What
to
are
have
you
a word
talking
with
about,
Gary.
Oscar? Yeah.
And this took you
I
several
think
hours.
it's Gary.
It was a really difficult cat to catch.
Can I roll insight about this obvious, blatant lie?
Yeah, you absolutely can. But also, and while you're doing that, just regular wits plus insight. While you're doing that, I think we actually had a good point raised in chat by Steve regarding willpower damage.
Thanks, Steve.
There's been quite a few revelations from the coterie tonight, and feel free to argue me back. But I kind of think that everyone but Mandrill should maybe take superficial willpower damage because various things. Oscar's been caught in a lie. Actually, no, Mandrill has been caught in a lie as well, right? Or at least obfuscation.
Mandrill loves being caught in lies. Actually, not just like getting caught in lies. Doesn't mind being a liar.
Yeah.
Like, I think basically it's the case of like there's conflict between you. Two of you have been caught in an obfuscation of the truth.
Sure.
The other two have been kind of caught on the back foot, unawares of something quite fundamentally important to what you're discussing. Alex kind of softly mocked by their sire in front of Oscar. I kind of think everyone should maybe take one, unless counter argument me.
So I think.
Yeah, superficial.
Less than being caught in the lie. Probably what's more upsetting Mandrill is that she wasn't able to the length of time it took to come out meant that the coterie was unprepared for a situation. So it's less the lying isn't the problem. It's that it didn't manage to resolve itself in a way that enabled the coterie to be, which is their fault. Really.
Yeah, like I said, like being caught on the back foot as well as a kindred obviously raises ire and reduces the kind of reduces willpower, reduces your ability to think rationally or behave rationally. So unless anyone wants to reckon that they don't take it, then I think we'll splatter a bit of that around. Lovely.
Sounds good.
And carry on with your conversation. How did your roll go, Alex?
4 successes.
Can I roll opposed subterfuge roll?
Yeah, go for it.
I feel like
what
composure composure plus subterfuge.
Right. Oh dear. 4 successes. Oh my, it's quite a...
Ooh.
No, that's what I didn't roll that.
Oh,
I think
sorry.
That was what. Well then I would. Well, yeah. No, I fail. 1 success.
Sure.
I hadn't seen any cats around the place. Are you sure it wasn't Marley's?
Oh, it was Marley's. Yeah.
And this took you several hours.
Yes.
Right.
It's worth noting. I don't know if this is being Sebastian definitely didn't tell you not to tell your coterie mates.
I know. I know.
I've just been told off about not keeping secrets.
Sure.
Exactly. And Madrill is having to deal with the fact that this isn't the secret keeping is now immediately becoming on the cards, and so they can't back down. They can't. If Arthur is demonstrating they can keep a secret.
I must confess, Mandrill, I believe that is not entirely true, and I have recently learnt of other secrets being kept in the coterie about a king beneath the sewers. So I apologize if this is not in my normal good humor, but I think given the dangers that I nearly walked into tonight, walking into some kindred's domains and being meeting the final death beneath the sewers, that if there is something else going on, it would be very nice to know about it.
While
So what you're
Alex
saying,
is
Alex, is that coterie members keeping secrets from each other can work against the coterie.
Exactly.
while Alex is saying this, I'm going to be like behind them, mouthing to Mandrill like it wasn't me.
Yeah. There's nothing that I'm aware of that immediately needs to be talked about. Slightly shiftily.
Just perhaps the cat.
Just the cat. You know,
Oh, for the love of God.
maybe
Marley
Sebastian
asked
had a
to
few
talk
things
to
to
me,
do
he was
for
the
us.
King of Shadows.
And you did so.
Yes.
Nothing important.
This feels
And
good,
is it-
guys.
The usual
it
politics
anything-
that we're here to do.
Be quiet, Oscar.
Is it anything that harms us? Is it anything that damages us?
Nothing that we need to talk about.
We've offered boons on behalf of the Nosferatu.
Oh, and Z was there. We should look into Z again because he's a bit
Yes.
weird.
In exchange for what?
Whatever we're willing to give. You know, vague promises. Things that we probably will have to.
No,
We'll come
from
back.
the King of Shadows.
Oh, access to these tunnels.
For all of us.
If it comes through.
Well,
I didn't want to get your hopes up yet.
It was intentioned to be the mission, which you
Yeah.
are certainly a part of. So yeah, it would
that was
include
was
you.
the mission or the
Yeah.
Nosferatu.
No, it wasn't just the Nosferatu.
No, it's the mission, yeah,
like
yeah.
it's definitely everyone who is here on your
Yeah.
crusade.
Obviously, we'd have let you know about it if we had anything concrete, but
Look,
Such
I
as
understand
the
if you want to keep
existence.
secrets.
the illusion of an existence. Certainty about an existence of a king below the ground, rumors,
Yes, Mandrill, of course.
legends.
Are there any other secrets we have that we should disclose given recent events? We could treat this as a new beginning and share all secrets which could harm each other.
Has Alex shared with the coterie what, for example, Rosa Barbe was talking about when she was talking about siblings? Just as an aside, in case Arthur wants to bring it up.
I don't believe so. I'm not even sure what Rosa Barry was talking about when she talked about siblings.
I don't ever remember talking about siblings.
But it was more. She referred to Oscar as a brother.
Yes,
After
okay,
looking
yes.
at the ring.
Oh, because
But,
Oscar
you know,
has
a cult
the ring.
member.
Yeah.
Oscar has
Alex
the ring.
hasn't discussed it.
Sure. Yeah.
Oscar, Alex has, or
Alex hasn't discussed it, unless you've asked.
Has Alex done anything?
Yes.
Has Alex done anything weird? Has Alex
Yes.
done anything? You know, when Alex has their visions and or like things like, has Alex done anything like that within sight? I'm trying to establish basically Arthur is immediately evidently here trying to go on the attack against Alex as you keep secrets as well. Is there anything other than the Rosa Barwi thing, which we've already mentioned?
Alex has
Alex
repeatedly lied about being made by the Inquisition, like, and like being followed by the Inquisition after, say.
Alex hasn't lied about that. You may have thought Alex lied about that, but Alex.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, fair enough. But for a reason, like you've I think like it's fair to say that Alex has been evasive about that.
sure, but Arthur doesn't know that.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
I think Alex has been perfectly honest with all of us all the way through.
I think
I just
getting
wanted
back
to
to-
root around in all this and see if
Getting
there's
back to
any
the scene
extra
at
fuel
hand.
to the fire.
Well,
Getting back to the scene at hand, if Alex is asking if there's any other secrets that we want to share right now, Mandrill will say no, and I'm not interested in entertaining this conversation any longer, and then we'll leave. You're like,
How disappointing.
well, if we're airing secrets, is there anything we should know about between you and Rosa Barwi?
I fear I You were there for the phone conversation I had with her, and then everyone was there for the conversation that led to her tragic departure.
I was, and she seemed to think that there was some sort of pre-existing relationship between the two of you.
Ah, yes.
And
we both-
Oscar,
Yes,
strangely enough.
that was a
I don't-
very strange comment, I must confess.
I don't know her at all. I say, and the ring is obvious, like on my hands that I'm holding up.
That Oscar, I believe, was because of his ring. For you see, Rose and I are both servants of our Lord, the Sun, Mithras. So naturally, the ring confused her as to this allegiance.
Let's say this. I think this is literally the first time that Mithras' name has been said out loud in this story. Not including Fall of London, obviously, where he's been talked about a lot. But within the London Ascendant, he's been very briefly mentioned. Let's put a pin, not put a pin in it as in stop talking about it. Let's take a pause for just a brief moment and contextualize this, partly for viewers and partly so we know what's going on as a coterie. So for anyone just tuning in, Mithras is the former ruler of London and really Britain as a whole, who rules over the land from his seat, his vampiric seat, as it were, in London for a very long time, close to 2,000 years, and had a number of cults dedicated to him as one of the very few very old vampires still publicly active. The Mithraic cults, of which eagle-eyed viewers will already have been detecting that Alex is a member of. Oscar, I venture to say that while as an antiquarian, you will undoubtedly know the name of the god Mithras. I think there's no reason why you wouldn't know that if you have kind of knowledge about those kind of things. You have no idea what the name means in the context of this conversation or in the context of the kindred.
Yeah.
Arthur, you are a Ventru from London. You absolutely know who Mithras was. And I think I think we've had this discussion before. You will have viewed the Mithraic cults as essentially just the same thing as the stonemasons.
Yes, they're a shadowy organization that are possibly behind everything, but they're really influential. And holy crap, Alex is a member.
Yeah, you know, for a young Ventru, especially post Mithras disappearing during World War II, you see the Mithraic cults as like, oh, that's in the same way that your average car salesman who joins the Masons isn't genuinely interested in uncovering the esoteric mysteries of medieval architecture. They are interested in getting a leg up politically in society, and that is probably how you view the Mithraic cults as well. Okay, I just wanted to add context for everyone because I was aware we haven't really talked about Mithras so far in this campaign. Go again. Mandrill, are you far enough away are you listening? Because it seems really like something Mandrill would be doing.
That's really up to Alex and Arthur to determine whether this conversation is happening as Mandrill is leaving or whether Mandrill would have already got left by this point, because they're in charge of the conversation. I said I was going to leave.
How very generous. Yes. What do people think? I think it happened quick enough that Mandrill might have heard the tail end of it.
Yeah.
Sure. Whether he wishes to stay around for it is a different matter.
Or lurk outside.
I mean, that's something to cause willpower damage. I've said I'm walking away. And will I walk away or not?
If you're hearing, if you hear that, it's entirely up to you whether you lurk nearby and listen in. This conversation isn't being had in hushed whispers. This is your haven, so you can lurk nearby and try and listen to it if you want.
Yeah,
Regardless, we spent enough time pressing pause on the conversation. Let's go ahead with it.
Oh,
is that your religion?
I do not know quite how you mean. Mithras is our Lord and the Sun, and we are his humble servants.
Yeah, I mean, like a religion, right?
The religions of mortals are obviously dreams they made up in order to give their lives some petty meaning.
Yeah.
But-
So this is different from that.
Yes. Our God, we can meet. He did great works. He ruled London for thousands of years.
Yeah, sure. But how did you get in on that?
Sorry to interrupt. I really heard the intonation of Alex on that. And how did you?
Why, I was chosen.
Oh. Fine.
Mithras came to me in a vision. I am blessed enough to be granted those from time to time. He came to me, gave me revelations of the world, and I was able to find others of my kin.
I see.
Right.
There's a
I
moment
don't know
in
what to
every-
do with this information, Alex.
I am not sure if you need do anything with this information, Arthur. It was something I was planning to mention had we spoken with Rose in great detail, but sadly she died or was captured. So there was no point going into it any further. It has been my hope that I would find others of the mysteries in London, but only Rose so far. And sadly, from the scribbles of the diary I have been trying to interpret, there is little there of great use either.
Well, then we need to help you find other members of your noble organization.
Why, that is very kind of you, Arthur. Sadly, I fear there is nothing more to do at the moment, but as we find more, perhaps more will be revealed to us. None, to my knowledge, on the mission with us are members of the mysteries either.
Well, we are here to help whenever you need it, Alex.
I am very appreciative.
It feels like the conversation is perhaps wrapping up, and also, just as two things. First, it's always a wonderful thing in a campaign with a Malkavian character when the veil slips for the first time. And
what veil? This is perfectly normal.
And also, I'm going to venture and take a guess here. In my head, the absolute ideal for what happens now is for everyone to look around, happy with the conversation, Alex to leave the room, Mandrel to walk in, and Arthur to go, "We need to talk."
What the hell is going on?
Well, Alex was actually going to say, well, if there's nothing else, as I said, I have only deciphered part of the diary so far, so I will continue to read.
Sure.
Of course.
And I will do that with heightened senses on so I can listen in on the conversation. It will undoubtedly occur in my wake.
Sure. So you wander off. Mandrel, are you going to? Are you just going to go off on your own?
If I hear any sign that Alex is wandering potentially in my direction, I'm going to stealthily move back towards my room. Sure. I didn't stay. I left resolutely.
So Mandrel is not present. Alex has wandered off. Would Arthur engage Oscar in any conversation on this, or would Arthur wait for a kind of consensus minus Alex?
I mean, I might just ask some questions.
Sure.
And Mandrel did say that I need to start keeping secrets.
Yes. So before you do, or while you do that, let's see how much of this Alex picks up on. So Alex, if you can give me a resolve plus awareness roll, please. Obviously include your heightened senses, but not your instincts, I don't think. Now, here's where something might come in handy. Steve, can you pop up the Down Street map, please? Let's check how close Alex's room is
this
to
conversation?
the
Next door.
to the conference. Is it next door?
Pretty much.
Just designed it. So let's pop it up anyway. It's been a while since we had it, so we can have a look at it, right? So there we go. So we can see Alex's room there, kind of at the bottom, that the grey section at the near the bottom right. So where's the conference room?
It's in the midst between Alex's and Arthur's room, so it's like 2 rooms away.
So it's not far. So it's 2 rooms away. So with heightened senses, I think I will comfortably set hearing that. Well, I suppose I don't have to account for the heightened senses because that's what the 2 extra dice are, right? I'm going to say hearing bits and pieces from that distance. It's a couple of rooms away. I'm going to set a difficulty 4, but obviously you've got that big dice pool with the heightened senses. How about that?
So 9 dice. I had 6 successes with a critical win.
Yeah, you hear every word. You hear every word of this conversation.
Okay.
So go ahead, guys.
So I've read a little bit about a god Mithras, but you guys seem to be talking about it like this is an organization, this is an invite-only club that you were snubbed from?
Yes, well, the god is probably named after the prince. That sort of tends to happen.
Right. And Alex is their successor, or?
Alex is a member of... how do I put this? A society started for the veneration of Mithras that is incredibly influential. And
right.
yes.
So tell me where I go off the rails here. So we have the Camarilla.
Yes.
And at some point, Mithras was the prince of the Camarilla.
No, he was the Prince of Britain.
The Prince of Britain?
In the Camarilla.
Okay.
In the
right.
No, I can see the face that everyone is
according to
at me.
Arthur's understanding, absolutely would consider Mithras as part of the Camarilla. The
stalwart member of the
certainly
Camarilla.
did, even though Mithras was like, no.
I guess the only thing that really matters to me is we are currently working for the Camarilla, but Mithras seems like maybe some other organization that has some other objectives that might perhaps not mesh perfectly well. Maybe just pull in different directions.
Well, I'm sure it has its own aims, but Alex is a member of the Camarilla, and Mithras was a member of the Camarilla, so theoretically, any members of this organization should be at purposes with us.
Okay, so they're not. So we haven't just found out that Alex is about
They're
to
not a
betray
secret
us.
traitor, no.
Okay. Right. Well, that's relieving. But you do still seem a bit worried, Arthur.
I'm not worried. It's more...
Yeah, but you're sweating in that way that you sometimes do.
Excited. See, well... The Mithraic Society is something like a gentleman's club. You know, it's where a lot of big movers meet each other, and being a member of this society has a certain amount of prestige and lots of influence over other very powerful members.
And you want a slice of that pie?
And you don't?
I want a slice of every pie that I can get. But I don't know. I don't think I have much of a shot. Doesn't seem like Arthur thinks much of me.
I think
You
much
can
of you.
correct me if you like, Arthur.
I think Pierre meant Alex.
Yeah, I did
Oh.
mean Alex. Sorry.
And you'll be
well-
fine. Mithras love Tremere.
I think Alex thinks you're young, which they're right.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, I don't think I can get you an introduction with. I think you should probably approach on your own. I don't know if I can get you in. I don't feel like.
I didn't expect you to, Oscar.
But we're friends.
Yes, but unless you're going to tell me that you're a member of the Mithridatic Societies, which, if you do, I need to go and lie down.
No. I have no secrets. I am an open book.
I think at this point, there's a roll Oscar could make. That roll will be intelligence and your choice of academics or occult. I'd just take the higher one.
Okay.
And it's
3 in
going
occult.
to be difficulty, I'd say difficulty 3 to make the link.
You're saying intelligence and occult, sorry.
If the occult's the one you prefer, then yes, intelligence and occult.
I do. Okay, difficulty 3. I'm rolling 7 dice. And I rolled 3 successes.
The ring you have on has the symbol of a golden bull on it. The golden bull is widely recognized as a symbol of the god Mithras.
Sure. And that's why Alex thinks I'm connected.
No, I don't think Alex does. It's why Rose thought you were connected. I think Alex is under no illusions about your. He saw you. They saw you be embraced, right? So
yeah,
and they're not going to think.
I guess one question is, I don't know. When I picked this ring up, I did feel something weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but if there's anything to this religion or secret society or whatever it is, I don't know, maybe I should not be quite so skeptical.
What kind of weird?
Well, you know, that feeling that sometimes you get when you just look at things and they seem right. You know? Do you never get that feeling? Maybe it's just me.
I think that we'll draw a veil over that conversation there. I think that's a nice point to leave it there. And we're going to roll forward to the next evening. So give me your rouse checks, please, folks.
I'm rolling 8 dice. No. Success.
That is a fail from me.
Success.
Success.
So is anyone kind of running up to 3+ hunger at the moment, or
I'm at 3.
you're at 3? Oh yeah, of course, because Z fed from you as well. So
Yes.
yes.
Oh, that's the risky point.
Yeah. So as you kind of rouse yourselves and start to move around for the evening, not so long after you clamber your way to wakefulness, one of the ghouls kind of comes kind of walking down the main corridor, and he's kind of looking into all the rooms, looking around for someone. Where are you going to be, Arthur?
If I just rouse, probably still in my room.
Okay.
Getting dressed for a night hunting, presumably.
A ghoul pops their head through the door, and she says, "Mr. Norris, your sire is here."
Ah, thank you.
Will anyone else be kind of out and about and generally wandering the platforms or looking around for other coterie members, that kind of thing?
I might be in the conference room
The general
looking.
area. Sure.
decoding messages, maybe.
I will be sat with heightened sensors on in my room, and if I hear a good conversation striking up, I will certainly listen in. Oh,
Sure.
and wander in at an opportune moment.
Well, then let's say you probably hear Cortland arriving. You hear him kind of like sharing a few words with the ghoul, and then you hear laconic tones talking very softly, which you can't quite hear, but you're fairly sure is Jazz. The
We'll stay
person,
away
not the
for now,
music.
then.
Oscar, yeah, if you're in the conference, if you're kind of wandering around in the conference room, you will probably see Cortland and Jazz stood with one of the ghouls towards the bottom of the stairs, kind of on the way into Down Street. Stood as if waiting.
Okay. I guess I'll walk up and see what's going on. As I approach, do they acknowledge me, or do they seem to be waiting for somebody else?
Jazz kind of vaguely rolls his eyes and turns to one side away from you, and Cortland gives you a kind of like sort of wave. Why don't we have? I see we've got their images lurking there, ready to pop up. Why don't we pop them up for us? Cortland Layton and Jazz Wentworth. Name a more iconic duo. Arthur, you probably come around the corner at this point.
Cortland, to what do I owe the honor?
Ah, Arthur, my dear boy. Yes. Nothing very much. Just wanted to express. Obviously, the elders are very, very happy with all the work you're doing, and they just wanted to send me along to see if you all needed anything. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Mr. Kane?
I'll leave you guys alone.
Oh, always a good chance to catch up with my my wonderful child here. Thank you for your courtesy, Mr. Kane.
Shall we step into the conference room?
Let's step outside for a breath of fresh air.
After you.
Cortland wheels round, followed closely by Jazz, and all of you walk upstairs, pass up the stairs out of the old underground station, out of the kind of building overhead of it, and out onto the street, which is moderately quiet. But Cortland maneuvers the three of you over to kind of the slight entrance of an alleyway that's even quieter.
Is it possible when they walk past my room to maybe skulk after them to some degree or other? Hearing them walk up the stairs around the mine shaft, around the lift shaft.
I mean, you'll have
really?
to. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to, but I would ask if you're doing it because Mandrill would randomly stalk after them, or because it's obvious I'm about to do a secret scene.
Well, I don't know. I suppose it's mostly because I don't think Mandrill was really. It was mostly because I think Mandrill wasn't really aware that they'd come in. But
sure,
But yeah.
I mean, does that the physicality of Down Street more than me? Do they go past your room because they're just coming? They only came into the bottom of the stairs and then walked up the stairs and out of the
stairs go by the lift shaft, and
okay.
then they go up. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's up to you entirely.
Well, I think you make a good point in that maybe Mandrill wouldn't specifically stalk them for no particular reason, and then Jazz and Cortland being apart from just generally being sneaky and curious.
Sure. I think like when they're definitely up going past the lift shaft, like they're not talking, so you
That's
probably just hear
then.
some footsteps going past. It's entirely up to you. If you think Mandrill would do it, then go for it. Make the roll.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what we're going for, obviously, is a stealthy stealth roll. What's your? Well, are you using any particular obfuscate or anything?
Yeah, I think I would stay far enough behind that I couldn't be seen, and then I can just use my silence of death to evade any detection apart from if they're using sense the unseen. So unless they were using that, then it's just, I think it's an auto
Sure.
success.
I mean, they will. I think because they've emerged into the street and they've walked a little way down the street, I think they will see you.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you have obfuscate where you can move around unseen, or do you just have?
Yeah, I
standing
do.
still
I
one?
do. I think. Yeah.
Sure. Is there any role you have to make for that? I know in the older edition it wasn't.
Yeah,
so.
no, it would be a rouse check, and I'm just trying to think about what they would do when they emerge into the street. I might probably not follow them to the street because I'm not that.
Okay, but just kind of creep after them and then give up the trail when you realise they're going out into Mayfair.
Probably.
Sure, that's fair. That's fair. So I don't think we need to make a roll for that, partly because it doesn't, I guess, matter if they notice you or not, if you're not following them out. So anyway, Cortland kind of beckons like you in even closer, and says, "So, my boy, what is the word about this facility you're being sent to?"
Leave, all I know is that it's antigen.
Yes. And you're being involved with this other coterie. The one with Tremere's sire.
Arthur is going to pretend he knew that. Yes.
Look, you probably want to keep this to yourself, but it's going to be extremely dangerous, Arthur.
I anticipated that as soon as they said Second Inquisition.
The elders are split over whether it's worth the risk at all. And recent information has come to light about whether it's viable or relevant in the slightest. There are other things, other bits of clockwork moving.
Like what?
There's discussions about whether we need to concern ourselves with the Second Inquisition at all. Look, I can't divulge any more than that right now. I know barely more than that. All I'm saying is we have to look out for ourselves, Arthur. This city is ours, but if the mission fails as a whole, we gain nothing. Don't throw our unlives away on a boondoggle where other clans have failed us. Yes?
Quite right.
All I'm saying is these individuals, while they may be your companions, are not worth dying over. This mission is not worth dying over. Keep yourself safe, and if you have to at all, throw the big Nosferatu in front of you. He's going along with you.
I feel safer already.
He's there as a meat shield anyway.
What about the Tremere woman?
I have no stakes or concerns with that coterie whatsoever. They're all Tremere and Malkavian.
That seems like a dangerous mix.
Doesn't it just? Almost inflammatory, perhaps intentionally so.
Also not sure how happy I am with two of my coterie sire being in the group.
I know about Kane's sire. The other?
Wait, did I know that Brazil is Alex's sire?
Neill, does Arthur know that? What do you think?
Well, we only met briefly for 24 hours in Paris, and Alex probably won't have mentioned it.
But was it mentioned at Elysium? Do I remember it being mentioned at Elysium?
Although I mentioned that my sire was the one who gave us the mission, so it's not. It's not hard to put two and two together.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think
because you said it and not him, I'm likely to remember it.
And maybe Oscar could have mentioned it as well, because Oscar knows by now for sure as well. Yeah, let's go with yeah. It's more interesting to say yeah, right?
Alex's sire. I don't know who they are. But I know they're in there.
The intentionally mysterious one, Brazil.
Possibly?
You think so, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Damn it. Look, I can't give you any direct help, but just get yourself out of there. By any means necessary, yes?
I had no intention of doing anything else, Colin. Don't you worry.
Good. And then, if it all falls apart, I have a little fallback plan for the three of us, yes? Maybe Casimir. If I feel she's on my good side.
If it all goes completely to pot, how would I get in contact with you? Let's say I can't come back here.
Yes. Well, he glances at Jazz, who just kind of shrugs as it to make out he doesn't care. Colin says, all right. Here. He hands you an embossed, kind of like a business card, but it just has a hotel room listed on it. This is where we're staying.
I'll tuck it into an extra secret inside pocket of my jacket.
Yes, well, be sure you do, because where you're bloody going, that would be rather incendiary information, yes?
I'll do my best.
All right. Okay. Well, good luck whenever this thing takes place. He reaches out and just kind of grabs you quite firmly by the upper arm and says, remember, Arthur, all of them are disposable. And I think we'll leave the session there for the evening. So, there we go.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
We're not disposable.
No, never. The Ventru value all of their fellow Camera members. Everyone watching, thank you for watching. And if you have any comments or questions, please fling them into the chat and Steve will pop them up for us to discuss. While he's reviewing the chat for those things, there's some promo to do. We've got a bunch of links down below. We've got links to YouTube and Twitch. You're watching on one of those. Why not check out the other? We've got links to our social media, links to our Discord if you want to join and talk to us about roleplay stuff, links to our Patreon if you want to support us and get some lovely rewards in return. We run 3 weekly campaigns at the moment. One is on Monday, that's Call of Cthulhu, run by Johnny. Vampire obviously is on Tuesday evenings, you're watching that, and Symbaroum is on Wednesday. They all start at 8 o'clock BST in the evening. We also run monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. We've run Troika and Alien and Merkborg. The VODs of those are over on our YouTube. We are running one this Saturday, in fact. We're running Fiasco, which is a GM-less caper-a-thon, which we're very much looking forward to. That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST this Saturday. I'll be taking part in that. John will be taking part in that. Pierre will be taking part in that. And so will the other Matt, the secondary Matt from our Call of Cthulhu series on Mondays. And that should be really good fun. We've also, and you know what? with I'm not going to tell you because that would be I got my own secrets to keep as well as this coterie. But if you want to find out something really exciting about something else we'll be doing in the near future, then tune in tomorrow to Simbaroom, where we will talk about it not at length because that would be boring. We'll talk about it and reveal something that's coming up that's very exciting. A reveal.
News? How exciting!
Absolutely. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. So check us out tomorrow, Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Our GMT, our Simbaroom stream at 8 o'clock BST tomorrow. I'm very tired. Questions, comments, anything, Steve? I was wondering earlier how Osiris works, the Predator style without a pre-existing cult, with difficulty, as it's turned out. But yeah, I think more or less in the fashion we used it tonight, right? Like, finding vulnerable, easily influenced people and exploiting them for the feedering. That's about right, Neill?
Yes. Another option is just to, if you don't have any kind of cult at all, is to just use the proto bit because you're just not using it for herd, or to co-opt what someone else is doing. It's the same kind of role, right? So you just find some other religious movement or band or whatever else, con your way in, and be a parasite.
A group of people easily influenced.
We'll just provide actual salvation. I mean, that's also an option.
Roll to provide salvation.
I think if a vampire tries to offer you salvation, that might be...
that's
probably a bad thing.
Probably not a good thing. Vampires betraying each other. Yeah, right.
I know. They get so offended when you do it, though. It's just
they pretend.
You had secrets from me.
Well, yeah,
they love it really.
Yeah, you.
Arthur gets his own secret. Yeah. Well, might as well dole them out. I mean, obviously, inter-coterie politics is a big part of Vampire the Masquerade, and I'm glad it all kind of bubbled to the fore tonight. That was quite fun, along with Alex's finally showing their
perfectly reasonable,
I don't really know
held membership of a secret society that's not even remotely weird.
Yeah.
We are all vampires, just to remind you.
It's true. Specifically vampires of a secret society.
And one of us is an actual warlock and a vampire.
Yeah,
and a member of a secret society.
Yeah, if fingers should be pointed at anyone.
I can take vampires. I can take a secret society of vampires organized against humans, and I can take within that society a further society dedicated to the study of arcane blood magic. But another society dedicated to an actual vampire that definitely did exist and was very powerful.
Lines have to be drawn.
Step too far.
Does exist.
Does exist.
Sure, whatever.
So,
gods can't die.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, with that in mind, I think that's everything from chat. So, thank you very much to the players as usual. Thank you very much to Steve for being an excellent stream manager, and thank you to everyone for watching. We'll see you next week for more Vampire, or as I say, check out Simbaroom tomorrow night for a wonderful revelation. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. Take care.
Bye.